Member from Western Westmoreland.
Minister Samoda, let me thank you and your team for being here. And you're correct, we're a little tired, so I won't be long because I think there'll be a lot of questions on water as we speak. But so let me get to the questions. Head 22,000, NWC capital expenditure 26-27, 3.57 billion, and it's broken down into 1.86 billion upgrade water supply sewage, 518 million continued implementation of water supply, 320 improvement of major potable water transmission, 870 million other projects. My question to you is, can the NWC manage, question one, can the NWC manage the execution of these projects? That's one. Question two, what changes are being made to the project management and procurement department to guarantee the delivery of these projects to the people of Jamaica?
Thank you, member. Last year, the NWC would have been allocated some $11 billion to its capital projects. The NWC would have also implemented $1.8 billion through its own revenue. The government, well, certainly the ministry is happy to report that we would have expended these funds. Now, the budget book, based on when it would have been printed, would not account for the fact that $7 billion of pipes have been paid for. It will recognize it in next year's budget when they are delivered in June and the construction starts. But the remainder of last year's or this year's allocation has indeed been expended, including internal work. So I'm satisfied on the procurement side, member, that the National Water Commission and indeed the Ministry's Water Policy Unit are able to procure the works associated with the budgets which are provided. As it relates to the project management of our existing works, yes, I am satisfied that the Water Commission, through its engineering units and the contractors it has selected, can indeed implement against the project designs that they have.
Follow-up question. You have here under 22,000 also pipeline and transmission main replacement, $322 million budget for 26-27. Which parishes and communities will be affected and how many customers this will impact overall?
Sorry, member, you mind telling me exactly which budget head you're looking at, which page you're on?
22,000. Head 22,000.
Which page, member? Okay.
All right, I'll get to that pretty soon, but could you, Minister, I have a question, and it's in regards to, I've been searching the document here for in terms of solar technology. We just went through a hurricane in the country, a Category 5 hurricane. And I would have thought more or less that a portion of the budget would have been allocated or increased for solar technology, knowing that JPSCO was down for a while. And I speak about the Logwood water treatment plants and other treatment plants across St. Elizabeth and Western Jamaica that was out of commission. Is there a plan within the commission to strategically focus on solar technology going forward?
Thank you for that question, member. The Water Commission this year will continue to pursue 2 large-scale PPPs, which will significantly transform the energy situation of the Water Commission. Ultimately, we've identified that PPPs is the best methodology to deploy solar and other renewable sources. The energy situation at NWC is indeed a financial challenge outside of just a resilience issue. But just to note, as it related, because you did enter it into the discussion, the Logwood system we had purchased generator to function as redundancy. And a little over 10 days after Hurricane Melissa would have struck the island, the generator was actually vandalized, which is what impacted the consistency of supply in that area. And that was indeed unfortunate. But members should also note that as it related to systems like the one at the foot of Red Hills in Kingston and St. Andrew, that we would have brought on a solar system towards the latter part of August last year. And already I'm happy to report that we've enjoyed some $20 million of savings and indeed would have had the resilience. But yes, member, we do have 2 large-scale PPPs that will deal with the energy deployment that we require.
Minister, 22,010. The Western Parish Supply and Resilience Improvement, you speak about 11 billion for Trelawney, St. James, Hanover, and Westmoreland. I'm of the view that, for example, this will basically affect the coastline from Trelawney into the west end of Negril due to the development of the tourism sector. And the residents of this country will not be the ones who will be prioritized. And I say that against the backdrop that rural water is where most persons in rural Jamaica, rural water come in and do their feasibility study, and after procurement and all of that, you get water. But I'm looking at the budget here, the 11 billion, and I'm of the view that when it comes to the budget of rural water, I see here $223 million for year 26-27. Can the minister shed some light on rural water, the $11 billion project versus that of the 4 or 5 parishes that you speak about that it will impact? Is there an increase in the budget for rural water in terms of executing so that persons in rural Jamaica can feel the impact of this $11 billion with the expansion?
So I recall, and through you, Chairman, I recall the members' advocacy.
Yes.
While campaigning during the awful drought 2 years ago that affected Hanover and Negril disproportionately. The reality related to our population distribution is that there is absolutely no way to invest from the Martha Brae to the West End and not significantly improve water supply to several 100,000 Jamaicans. And we will improve that water supply through a number of factors that make up the Western Resilience Water Project. Firstly is the transmission main, which anyone who has been stuck in traffic near Coral Gardens when that line collapses would appreciate just how often that line breaks. That line has gone beyond its useful life, and it supplies the reservoir in the terminal reservoir in the center of Montego Bay. So certainly everyone from Martha Brae to terminal reservoir will be impacted by this transmission main, which will significantly reduce leakage of several million gallons a day and make that water available to citizens in communities like Flanker, communities like Montego Bay. And I think that is something that needs to be understood. As it relates to the line that will then run from the Great River Treatment Plant through Eastern Hanover, through Western Hanover, and terminate at the roundabout in Negril, or rather at the town center of Negril, that will obviously benefit another few 100,000 Jamaicans. It will also take pressure off of systems like Bulstrode, which have been pressed to push as far as Negril, and we've had to do interconnections, as you'd have known, during that period. It will take significant pressure off of Logwood, so communities like Green Island will benefit significantly. But this project is not limited simply to a transmission main. The project also includes the significant upgrade of the Great River Water Treatment Plant to increase the ability to process an additional 7 million gallons a day. It also includes the upgrade of the Martha Brae water treatment plant, which should have similar volume increases, while obviously significantly reducing leaks in and around the space. The other element, which should be of particular interest, certainly to members from the northwest of the island, from Trelawney, extending, it will benefit as far as St. Mary, will be the development of a Rio Bueno water treatment plant, and for members in Westmoreland, the development of the Roaring River water treatment plant. The Western Resilience Water Project is a project that contemplates the investment of $45 billion into the northwestern parishes extending to Westmoreland. And I think that needs to be understood, and $7 billion has been spent already. $11 billion will be spent this year, and we move into the heavy-duty construction phase in June. There's no way to do that sort of investment and it not benefit Jamaicans first and foremost, and that needs to be understood. As it relates to the rural water question, the $223 million that you are referring to is actually the initial phase of investment in the CDB project, which has been discussed from as far back as 2008 in this house rather. That project contemplates major water systems in Agwater Vale, in St. Mary, Albertown and Ulster Spring in Trelawney, the Kemps Hill scheme, the Mason Hall scheme in St. Mary, the Union and Balaclava scheme in St. Elizabeth, and the Port Morant and Erie Castle scheme in St. Thomas. This allocation is to set up the project unit that will finalize the engineering and finalize the procurement process, which we expect to get underway this year. We are finalizing the arrangements with the CDB, with the Ministry of Finance. This project is expected to invest some $36 million US, and I expect that once the loan agreement is indeed signed, we will bring that matter to the House. I'd like to also bring your attention, member, to, as it relates to the rural water supply, the allocation, I've lost my bearings, of some 470 million. I'll tell you which budgeted in a second, which deals with projects such as Riversdale in St. Catherine. It deals with projects on 22,010, member. It deals with projects such as Orange Bay in Portland. But as I did mention at the beginning, member, this 432 million, just to be faithful to the information, does involve closing out existing commitments and does not contemplate new projects this budget year.
Minister, public bodies, page 265, island-wide metering. You often get complaints from your customers at the NWC about defective meters. 35,000 new meters for 2025, 2026, 216 million budgeted, yet zero spent. Could you elaborate on this for me, please?
There was a delivery issue based on supply chain disruptions caused by a number of factors. We expect to get them in the new financial year very early.
All right, next question. Minister, what's the current fleet stock at the NWC? And I ask this question because on same page 265, you have you plan to spend this year 26-27. You plan to spend $656 million on new motor vehicle purchase. What portion of this is trucked water? Trucking, water trucks.
In terms of the purchase of water trucks, member,
Yes.
to be clear?
Yes. What portion of it? 656 million.
Remember, it is contemplated that we'll purchase an additional 8 water trucks and 30 service pickups out of this allocation.
30 service pickups?
Yeah.
And how many water trucks?
Currently have 20 water trucks and 300 vehicles total in the fleet.
Okay. Minister, in terms of, I see here in terms of trucking of water, 80.5 million, 250 million for black tanks. In terms of drought, because we face drought every single year. Is this an adequate amount as we speak?
No, member, but the way the budget has been managed from time immemorial is that when the Met Service and the WRA write to the Minister of Water, it is drawn from the Ministry of Finance out of their contingency budget annually. Should it be accounted for that way, I would prefer it wasn't, but that is the way it has always been done.
Public bodies 265, compensation for directors, executives, and senior managers grew from 403 million in 2024-2025 to estimated 436 million in 25-26 to projected 451 million in 26-27, budgeted increase of 3% when compared to budget decrease of 8% for clerical production and supervisors. My question, Minister, does the NWC still have a president? That's my first question.
The current position is held by Kevin Carr as acting president of the NWC. Members will recall that the current holder of the office would have been sent on administrative leave in late 2023. His contract comes to an end at the end of this month.
Minister, is the president that was sent on leave, was he still getting a salary from the NWC?
As per normal arrangements related to administrative leave and all employment law standards, yes.
Yes, okay. My next question to you, what is the separation figure?
There isn't a separation figure because his contract is coming to an end at the end of the month.
Okay, so what is the amount? What is the amount? What is the amount in terms of a figure, in terms of the contract coming to an end?
No, I'm not following your question, member.
All
His
right,
contract could have been exhausted. There is no additional cost for separation.
Minister, is the separation package for the farm?
No, member, there is no separation package. His contract has expired.
Was he paid full salary?
Minus benefits associated with active duty, yes.
What was that?
I don't have that figure offhand, but we're prepared to get it for you.
Okay, was it $50+ million?
No, nobody at the Water Commission earns $50+ million.
What was it then, Minister?
I don't have that figure as I mentioned before, but I'm prepared to get it for you and get back to you.
And Mr. Barnett, contracts come to an end?
It comes to an end at the end of this month, yes.
Okay, and there isn't a compensation separation package, right?
No.
No. Huh? Okay. All right. In 2025-2026, the NWC had a net loss of 2.5 billion after subvention of 3.25 billion. Minister, why should we believe that for 2026-2027, the net loss will be reduced to 104 million before subvention? What will happen differently within the NWC?
So, for the 3 years previous to this current financial year, the NWC was able to make a modest surplus for the first time in its history, making a surplus for 3 years in a row. Mm-hmm. There was a little event that you may recall, Hurricane Melissa, which would have knocked out several thousand of our customers. We are not able to charge for customers who don't get water. So, in essence, for those who understand the cross-subsidy in water, when you lose several dozen large-scale commercial customers in the West for a prolonged period, you lose significant revenue, which would have impacted our balance sheet significantly in a year where, because of the reclassification exercise, our cost of employment would have increased. So that is pretty much the major issue. You'd have also had significant emergency works which were unplanned related to the restoration. Now, we do not anticipate these commercial customers being out in perpetuity based on the current rate of onboarding and reconnecting. Based on them standing up their operations, we do expect losses to be significantly reduced this financial year.
Minister, the divestment of Soapberry. Government owns 85%, 15% by private investors. Investor. Is it that the government has found someone to take up the offer in terms of the doubling of the capacity of the of Soapberry?
The government of Jamaica would have engaged KPMG as its transaction partner. The transaction design would have been presented to the cabinet and been accepted. We have made our submissions to the PIAB. Upon approval, we expect to go to market later this year to seek that partner. So no, we have not found a partner yet. We will be going to market in a competitive bidding process to see which partner comes forward.
Minister, you speak about bringing in 15 million gallons of water into Kingston daily. My question to you is, you have 200 wells in Kingston that, if you look at the current if you look at technology now, you could basically improve some of those wells across the corporate area. Is anyone within the commission looking at diversifying in terms of, not even diversifying that much, but looking at situations where you can improve the technology and allow these wells to come back into operation?
Yes, member. The well at Maresca Road, which was long rested, has been brought on using the modern technology, and its tests are certainly encouraging. We do have many wells, as you would know, that because of high nitrate content, we're unable to access water. It is one of the reasons why we must move apace, especially in Kingston and St. Andrew, to complete our storing project because of the height of the water table.
My final question, Minister, and it's more of a statement. I think at times the NWC gets a knockout there for your customer service / customer relation. Would it be possible for the commission to, across constituencies, because I think a lot of member of parliament suffers from this, across constituencies where we do some town hall meetings with the NWC in ensuring that the community buys in and the NWC understand clearly what communities across this country are faced with daily? Could I get your commitment that your team within the NWC will embark on such a mission going forward? Final question.
Public engagement is indeed a tenet and a pillar of our performance metric. We do make ourselves available to members of parliament and councils for their scheduled meetings. We participate in your CDF consultations. But yes, member, you have my commitment that we will increase our engagement within communities.
Thank you, Minister.